Good morning, everybody. My name is Terry Marzell, and I'm the author of the book Chalkboard Champions. One of the teachers that I wrote about in my book is the teacher Annie Sullivan Macy, who was the teacher of Helen Keller. Now, Helen Keller was a blind and deaf child who was born just after the Civil War in Tuscumbia, Alabama. And shortly after her birth, she got an infection and she became deaf and blind. So Annie Sullivan Macy became the teacher of this very intelligent deaf and blind girl. And the story of their relationship has been documented in a play called The Miracle Worker by William Gibson. It's an iconic piece of American literature. It's often taught in schools. I've taught it many times. And in the play, there is depicted a moment at the water pump when Helen Keller suddenly recognizes that the spelling in her hand that Annie Sullivan Macy had been doing all those months had meaning. It was the moment at which Helen Keller became aware that language existed, and it's a very sweet moment, very sweet. But a lot of times people are asking, well, what exactly did Annie Sullivan do that would, create this understanding in a child that couldn't hear and couldn't see? And how did Annie Sullivan manage to teach this child to the point where she would actually go to college and earn a college degree? After a lot of extensive research, I think I've been able to identify maybe some of the strategies that Annie Sullivan Macy used. Now, first of all, Annie Sullivan Macy read every piece of literature that she could get her hands on about how to teach handicapped students. Now, admittedly, during that period of our history, there wasn't a lot of it. But whatever there was, Annie pored over every word. So I would say studying pedagogy is a really important strategy in helping out your students. Now, Annie had, if you want to call it an advantage, that she had also had vision problems. She suffered from trachoma, which she acquired when she was a child and had to have several surgeries. Her vision was never really perfect, but because she'd had personal experiences, that helped her to help Helen Keller. And I'm sure that we've all known a colleague who has been able to help students that have had similar experiences to the teacher's own experiences in ways that maybe some of the rest of us, have a harder time with. Another strategy that Annie Sullivan Macy used was that she spoke her sign language into Helen's hand. She signed language into Helen's hand with complete sentences. Now, it's very easy, I think, to teach somebody nouns such as table or rock or book, or maybe verbs such as walk or run, but it's a lot more difficult to teach somebody concepts like beauty or truth and this, certain prepositions and pronouns. These are much harder to do. Lastly, I think that Annie Sullivan Macy was a master at what today we call experiential learning. And that is, she took Helen out of the classroom and into the environment, and they climbed trees together, and they waded through brooks, and Annie would give Helen a little chick that was hatching from its egg to hold in her hands as the hatching process continued. And I think that today experiential learning is commonly accepted as the best way of teaching, because we all learn best by doing. But Annie Sullivan Macy was a pioneer at this kind of teaching. So we have her to thank for that, in part. You can learn more things about Annie Sullivan Macy and other remarkable teachers in my book, Chalkboard Champions, which is available on Amazon. And I hope you have a really great day. Happy teaching.